Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to use another one of my macros. This one's designed to automatically insert all your thumbnails directly into a spreadsheet. It's super useful when you're dealing with a lot of images, like when you're prepping an online VFX or continuity spreadsheet, because it saves you from manually uploading each image one by one. The easiest way to show you this macro is within context, so I'll walk you through how I get all the information from Avid into an online spreadsheet. There are a few different ways of getting the information you need, and honestly it depends on what works best for you. This is just one method I use which combines clip notes and markers, so let's just jump into Avid and I'll show you how I prep this sequence. I'm using a short film I've shown before which I edited a couple of years ago called Sunday Roast. The director Lucas has kindly let me use it for these tutorials. The actual cut barely has any opticals, just one split screen near the end, so I've thrown in a couple of time warps and 3D warps to make it a better example. If you want to check out the film, I've left the link in the description below. If we open the clip notes, you can see whatever clip you add the clip note to automatically shows the start time code, end time code, and the duration. I've also added notes on what each effect is doing so the online team can recreate them on their side. You can add these notes by right-clicking on any clip on your timeline and selecting Add Timeline Clip Notes. You can also export thumbnails from clip notes. The frame column is hidden by default, but once you unhide it, you'll see the images that will be exported if you left it visible. There are a few annoying things about getting your thumbnails this way though. Let me show you what I mean by exporting these clip notes. When you export, Avid creates a text file with all the written information, everything I just showed you except for the images, and it also creates a separate folder within the same location which holds all the thumbnails. The first issue with the thumbnails is the naming. Each one is named after the clip it's attached to, so they end up sorting alphabetically rather than the order they appear in the timeline. Sorting by date and time doesn't help either because all the timestamps are the same. The second issue is that they always export the first frame of the shot. Most of the time that's fine, but sometimes you'll want a later frame. For example, this shot here, the first frame is blurry because it's a part of an invisible cut hidden by a whip pan. This is the image the clip note gave me, but I'd rather use a frame later in the shot, something that works better as a reference, which is exactly what this marker's for. This is where markers come in really handy. I only use clip notes for text files, not for thumbnails. For thumbnails I export the exact frame I want using markers, so I always have a clear reference. Let's export the markers I've got on this sequence so you can see how they come out. As you can see, the naming is already much better. Just a sequence name and a simple number that lines up in the order that it appears in the timeline. This makes it much easier to know where the images should go in the spreadsheet. I'd recommend choosing a specific color just for the online markers. If you've got other markers in your sequence, duplicate the sequence and delete anything that isn't for online. Otherwise those markers will be exported for thumbnails too. Using one dedicated color makes everything much easier to filter. And before you think, why not just keep all your online markers on one track and only select that track when exporting? Avid doesn't quite work that way. Even with view selected tracks turned on like I have, that only decides which tracks appear in the thumbnails. It doesn't control which marker gets exported. Avid includes every marker in the timeline regardless of which track is selected. Just before we start the macro, I'll quickly go back to the text file we exported from the clip notes and put that information in the spreadsheet. Perfect. Now all you have to do is insert the thumbnails. You're ready to start the macro. One thing to know about this macro is that it uses screenshots I've taken. It should find the image and click it, but it probably won't work on your machine. Keyboard Maestro doesn't see the images the same way you do. You might think the screenshots I've taken and what you see on the monitor look the same, but Keyboard Maestro would disagree. It's looking much closer than you are, checking the exact pixels in a screenshot and comparing them to what's on your screen. So if you're using a different computer, resolution, zoom level or browser, the macro will probably fail. I've never actually run this macro on this spreadsheet before, and especially since I've just been zooming in and out of it, it's pretty unlikely to work. It expects everything to match the original screenshots perfectly. If I trigger it now, it'll let me pick the folder that it needs to read from to upload the images, but after that, nothing happens. The macro fails because it can't find the screenshot it's looking for. To fix this, you'll need to take your own screenshots of the three buttons to program the macro to click. The insert button in the Google Sheet toolbar, the browse button in the file upload window, and the little cloud with a tick icon at the top. Drag your screenshot of the insert button to the first found image section of the macro, the browse button to the second, and the upload button to the last. As well as the actions I programmed the macro to do, there are intentional pauses between them so it doesn't fail. I've made it run at a very safe and steady pace, which you'll see in a second, but if you feel like it's going a bit too slowly, you can shorten the pauses. Just be aware that if it runs too quickly, your computer might not keep up and it may not complete the steps properly, or could even fail altogether. Now that you've added the new screenshots, go ahead and select the first cell where you want an image, then trigger the macro. I've got mine linked to a string deck button, but you can use whatever trigger works for you. Most people would assign it to a hotkey. Like before, it'll ask you to pick a folder with your images in. Once you've chosen that folder, you can sit back, grab a cup of tea, and let the macro handle all the repetitive steps for you. You can't see that I'm not touching the keyboard right now, so you're just gonna have to trust me. The macro's doing all the work, not me. Here's what the macro's actually doing. Once you pick a folder, it scans for JPEGs and PNGs. It will then sort them alphabetically and write their file paths into a temporary text file. Then it goes through that list one by one, so it always knows which thumbnail to upload next. It keeps looping until every file path has been ticked off. First it clicks the insert button to select insert image and cell, then it clicks the browse button, pastes the file path into the finder window, uploads the image, and waits. It won't move on to the next thumbnail until the cloud icon we screenshotted comes back. When an image is uploading, the cloud icon disappears and shows saving. The macro waits until the cloud returns before moving to the next cell. Like I said before, you might be thinking this macro is going a bit too slowly. If you want it to go a little faster, you can adjust the pauses, but just be aware that if it goes too fast, your computer might not keep up and it may not complete the steps properly or could fail altogether. Now you know how it works, I'll fast forward so you can see it finish. And here's the final thumbnail going in. If we compare the first 3 images to what we have on Finder, you can see that everything is in the correct order, a perfect macro to save you time on repetitive work. I hope you find it as useful as I do. If you've got any requests for future macros, get in touch and I'll do my best to make them for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.